43 days until the presidential election here in the United States, and the world is on the brink. We are pleased to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Buzz Patterson, former military aide to President Clinton and the national security expert. It is, folks, it's incredible to see where we're at right now. We're going to get into a bunch of stories today with the good Lieutenant Colonel. He is a retired United States Air Force, author of several best-selling books, served 20 years in the United States Air Force, and from 1996 to 98, he was in charge of the nuclear football for President Clinton. So let's bring him up here. Josh is of course with us as well. Let's get you guys unmuted. Buzz, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. This sounds like we're gonna have a good time today.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have your expertise on this. We love to go through the news, get people up to speed, and to have your analysis on some of this stuff is going to be extremely helpful for our audience out there. And so, folks, let's direct you first to WorldNet Daily. The headline over there is about Hezbollah firing more than 150 rockets into where Jesus was born, into Nazareth. I mean, that's incredible, right? And this comes, of course, on the heels of these pagers that have gone off, this technology where you can just set off someone's pager in their pockets. I mean, Buzz, have you seen something like this before?
No, it's brilliant. I mean, it's as a military guy, it's the fact that the Israeli Mossad is actually who did it. They intercepted that shipment of pagers physically, and they put next to the battery, they basically put explosives, and they used a mass across network push to get all those things to explode at the same time. But I don't think the U.S. government would have the gumption to do something like that. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, and then we saw again too, right, Josh? We saw them do it with another device. Was it walkie-talkies or something similar?
Yeah, they got a tiny explosive into the walkie-talkies as well. I mean, everybody's probably taking this as a playbook now for something you can do to your enemies, but it's just a shocking op. They're going to be writing about this and studying this for years to come.
Yeah, let's watch this footage real quick. We have a few seconds of what happened to one of these guys. Yeah, incredible. So this was more, I mean, this wasn't like a death blow. This was more of was this like a shot across the bow, you think?
I think it was a lot of things. The Israelis did kill 9 to 10 people with that operation, but I think mostly it was to get their attention. And the only reason why Hezbollah uses walkie-talkies and pagers is they're trying to lower their footprint so the Israelis can't see where they are, where they live. So that's the reason why they went to the basest possible communication system. Israel figured that out and pulled that off. Now, what it also did concurrently, I think, another brilliant thing on the part of the Mossad is that it neutralized the Hezbollah communications network in Lebanon. They're going to have a hard time recovering from that in the near future. So if Israel's going to keep picking at him, they did a tremendous disservice to themselves and their leadership in Hezbollah. And I'm happy to see it. I really am. I'm a big supporter of Israel, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, well, when you look at the what you just said there, that they brought down their technology capabilities in order to communicate, and maybe that would imply that they were kind of like maybe operating a little bit off the radar, so to speak. But when you do these blasts, all of a sudden now you have pinpoints of where everybody was, and so you may you even get more information about the enemy in that.
You definitely do. And again, it was just a miraculous operation.
Yeah,
and they pulled it off without anybody knowing. And I know this. I know you guys are on social media as well, but some of the memes that came out of that were just hysterical.
Very true. Very true. And folks, if you don't already, you have to follow Buzz Patterson on X, because not only will you get some great insights, but you are a humorous individual too. So I've always come across your repost as well. So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead,
Matt,
Josh.
I wanted. So speaking of small explosions, that's on the far end of the spectrum, a micro explosion through a battery. But Buzz is here today as an expert. There's not a lot of people like Buzz. He is a unique expert in the biggest kind of explosions that we have on Earth, as the military liaison to the president, who literally carried the nuclear football for the Clinton administration. And Buzz, would love to just, if you could just give us a rundown of what you did in that job, and that'll kind of fill us in on what we're going to ask you for later.
Yeah, sure. Well, number one, it's not a job you can apply for, guys. The White House, unbeknownst to me at the time, actually asked the Air Force for six total candidates to be the senior military and carry the football, and I was one of the six. And it's a job that has existed since President Eisenhower, where that you actually live in the White House. You have a bedroom and you have an office, and when the president's there, you're there. And when the president's on Marine One or Air Force One, you're on Marine One and Air Force One right next to him. When he goes on vacations or the golf course or whatever, there's a military aide with the football by his side 24/7, no matter what's happening. And that's how the job, that's the big brush picture of what the job's all about. But we did much more than just carry the football. And the military aides also were in charge of Air Force One, Marine One, the White House Transportation Agency, the White House Communications Agency. Those are all military assets, by the way. There's a bunch of military that support the White House and the presidency, and the military aide that's on duty kind of is the daddy rabbit and oversees all of that. So you also had evacuation scenarios, Camp David. We were kind of in charge of that operation as well. So it's a full-time job. There's only 5 of us. One from each service. I was the Air Force guy again, but you're always either on the road or you're in the White House with the president.
And without divulging any, national security secrets, was there ever a moment where it was like, hey, Buzz, get over here with that thing?
Yeah, get the briefcase ready.
We did practice it with the president once a year, but with the Pentagon and all the nuclear assets that we have around the world, we would actually exercise that every 3 months, at least every 3 months. And that's how we kept the process fresh, right? So we knew exactly what we were doing, no matter who was the military aide. Again, there's only 5 of us, so we were all kind of, hopscotching around, trying to stay ahead of President Clinton in this case. And President Clinton was pretty busy. I mean, that guy did not have any moss growing underneath his feet. So in a lot of ways, which we can get into later if you want to talk about it. So yeah, it's an amazing job. It's an amazing job, and again, you can't apply for it. I did it for 2 years, which is average. It's a 2-year assignment. I couldn't wait to get out of the Clinton White House, quite frankly, and go back to the Air Force. So I got out of there on the exact birth date of 2 years, and I looking back on it was again once in a lifetime operation. It allowed me to write books and give speeches, and it was again something that just happened to me toward the end of my career. I mean, I was a major when I got the job, and lieutenant colonel when I left. So yeah,
and I wonder. I mean, obviously, you're a member of a small elite club now. I mean, I know it's been around since Eisenhower, but of all the people that have had your responsibility, are you? Did you guys have a club? So to speak. Do you guys have some sort of meetups and talk shop?
You know what? We have had a couple of those. There's so few of us, and anybody older than. Well, most of the guys that were there before me have passed away. So there's that issue too. Or they're really, really old. But yeah, we all hang out together, especially the guys that I actually serve with. I mean, the Navy and the Army and the Marine guy were the Coast Guard were my best friends for those 2 years, because it was a rough 2 years, man. And fortunately, I was the senior guy, so I got to put out the trips and tell people who was going to go where, and we had a good time with it. So that part was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'm gonna ask a personal question here, because I think if you can answer, if you're around the president all this time, how often would you see the first lady?
Well, she was too often. Let me just say that.
This is Hillary Clinton, everybody, that we're speaking about.
Oh my God, yeah. So when I first got there, I was in awe of both of them. Trust me, I was a young major. I was just in awe of the fact that I was working in the most important building in the world for the most important person in the world. And I was told by my predecessor that when Hillary's moving around the White House, she doesn't want to have to make eye contact with anybody in the senior staff. So get out of the hallways, move into offices, whatever, but do not, don't confront her because she doesn't want to talk to you or make eye contact with you. That's how my 2-year tour started.
Wow.
Yeah, and Bill's a whole different animal. Bill was a lot of fun to be around. Didn't have a moral fiber in his body, but he was a fun guy to be around because he was a great storyteller, very gregarious. He liked college football, so I'd go hang out with him and watch college football occasionally. So yeah, those two personality-wise could not be more different.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, then I guess when it comes to, what to expect from one of these explosions, one of these things that go off, there was an explosion that happened was it in Ukraine? Let's watch this footage here. I want to get your analysis on it. You posted this.
Yep.
Смотри, идет сюда. Офигеть, сейчас. Вот, видели эту волну? Просто жесть.
That is an impressive explosion, and there was this wave that crawled along the floor or the ground right there. Kind of describe, walk us through what you think that is.
That's why I think that the likelihood is that was probably a tactical nuke from the Russians.
Wow.
Because that is emblematic of a nuclear explosion. The wave you saw, the sound wave you saw spreading out away from the target, the way that the aftermath and the flames and the fumes were going up, kind of almost like a huge nuclear bomb leaves a tremendous mushroom cloud. But a tactical one will obviously they're way smaller, so you're going to get the same looking thing on a much less dramatic angle, I guess, or perspective. So I think it's either a tactical nuke or they hit the munitions dump. And they were getting some secondaries there, which would indicate munitions, but I still think it has all the earmarks of me and my experiences and what nuclear blasts look like.
And Buzz, do you think that I feel like if it was any kind of nuclear weapon, do you think that seems like the perfect opportunity that the global NATO types are waiting for? Like almost they're waiting for that moment that they can yell nukes and then mobilize closer. I mean, is that maybe our number one indicator of whether it is or not?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, I don't think we're not getting a lot of truth out of Ukraine or Russia. Quite frankly, I mean, Russia doesn't tell us anything. So, but Ukraine is also, I don't trust those guys as far as I can throw them either. So, I think that we're not going to get the truth, unfortunately. And only the people that really know are probably Vladimir Putin and whoever was filming that video, because they were relatively close.
Do we know where that explosion happened? Do we know what part of Ukraine, or was it along the border?
It was along the border in what I call a demilitarized zone, because it's a no man's land. I mean, it's just, it used to be Russia, now it's Ukraine. So they're still fighting over that aspect of it. But yeah, it's highly possible it was either one of those, and we're probably never going to get the final answer. I'm still waiting to find out who the guy that shot up Las Vegas was. We still even know that guy.
Oh boy!
Buzz,
language now here.
We're on the same page here, aren't we? I was also gonna ask you: did you ever smell the smell of sulfur around Hillary Clinton? Was that ever a thing? That's an accusation that maybe Alex Jones made.
She smells like sulfur and spoiled cabbage.
Buzz, I wanted to ask, you know, we showed you that explosion. You posted that yourself, but we see that there's these hot spots everywhere that are popping up. The primary ones in the Middle East with this Hezbollah back and forth going on. I think we have a clip for that. But and then Ukraine. I mean, I would like a more than a yes or no answer, but like it does seem like we're on the edge of a serious conflict. But what is your opinion on that?
I think we are across several fronts, actually. I mean, again, if this thing in Ukraine and Russia does escalate nuclear-wise, then the nuclear powers of NATO are going to have to get involved somehow. I think we're also under a tremendous threat. You know, Israel has nukes too. And we know that Iran is trying to build theirs. Whether or not they actually have them, we don't know for sure, but we suspect they're still, you know, in production. But that could also blow up at any moment, especially with what's going on in Lebanon right now and Syria with the, you know, with the Israel going after the Hezbollah leaders and getting some, you know, some really top guys up there, including the Iranian ambassador. So we killed him too. So, or they did. I keep saying we because I support Israel, but you know, there were no U.S. troops involved in any of this that I'm aware of. So there's you know, China's always potentially on the verge of going into Taiwan, and I'll tell you what, right now, guys, our military is incapable of doing anything else in that regard. We're going to have to. I mean, if we're going to focus on Israel and Iran and Saudi Arabia in that region, and then China goes into Taiwan, we're going to be hard pressed to do anything about it. At least that could be a potential problem as well.
Yeah. And Colonel, we have another clip here. You mentioned Israel having nukes and going into Lebanon, perhaps. There was this other footage that came out over the weekend on X. I don't know if you've seen this, of a very large explosion in Lebanon, allegedly. Let's look at this if we have it.
Okay.
مثل ما هي لايف.
Yeah, and in that first clip, once again, you saw that shockwave proceed before the blast could be heard. What do you make?
Yeah, very similar reactions and very in line with what a nuclear, a tactical nuke would look like. In my experience, I think that again, if they're using munitions that I'm not up to speed on, and I don't know that they are, it looks like to me they would have to have something that is close to what a tactical nuke would look like, and I think that's what one of them was for sure, and the second one looks like it too in the second video.
Yeah, yeah. And just for our viewers, just so we're all clear here, when you talk about tactical nukes versus, I guess, a regular nuke, is there what's the difference there? Is it the fallout? What do we when you look at?
Yeah, it's basically, you know, and so one of the things that's in the football is the varying degrees of which our president can make a decision to employ nuclear weapons, and it goes from everything to full blown Armageddon down to battlefield, you know, mini nukes, which are dropped by jets, which is what both those videos show, and it's just a lot less, you know, megatonnage. It's supposed to have, it's a lot smaller footprint. Obviously, it doesn't have anywhere near the fallout that a big one does. But I think it's just a kiddie version of what the big one looks like. And the reason why we have those, the tactical ones, is precisely that. We don't want to, and again, I'm using we want to minimize collateral damage. And so that's the tactical nuke will do that. A big nuke will destroy an entire country.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's scary stuff here, especially when you start seeing, the state of the world, everybody promising that we're headed towards World War III. And then if these are indeed tactical nukes, I mean, that's just, it feels like it's only going to elevate there. So much so, we have an image here that the FBI revealed recently that Iran had hacked the Trump campaign. And sent it to Biden Harris, and now, of course, Iran also being suspected of being behind these assassination attempts somehow. I mean, this again, this only escalates things, and it really shows that the world is, at least our enemies, are not looking too fond of a Donald Trump presidency.
Which is exactly why we need him.
Yeah, amen.
You know what I mean? Because Iran wouldn't be doing this. Israel wouldn't be doing this either if Trump was still in power. And I mean, Israel, got involved because the Biden administration left them kind of high and dry, And so Israel keeps punching at Hezbollah and Iran's going to react at some point. And I think that you're right. Some of the stuff they're doing is shooting at our shipping vessels, in the Persian Gulf, and some of the stuff they're doing quite possibly could be getting involved in trying to assassinate a presidential candidate. They're not nice people, and they don't want peace with anybody. They especially do not want in Israel. So that's probably right now the hottest zone. And we contrary to what Kamala Harris told you, we do have troops on the ground in that region. We have troops in Syria. We have troops in Iraq, and they're not over there. So how unqualifying is that for her to be a commander in chief and not know where her folks are?
While she's currently the vice president.
Exactly. Yeah. So
when you think of the comparison between your time with President Clinton and what you see in the Biden White House right now, we have a clip here of the Biden's press secretary saying that he has a team, to handle if something should happen. Let's watch this. It's a short clip. Let's watch this.
Well, he also said he's sharpest before 8 p.m. So say that the Pentagon at some point picks up an incoming nuke. It's 11 p.m. Who do you call? The First Lady?
He has a team that lets him know of any news that is pertinent and important to the American people. He has someone that is decided, obviously, with his National Security Council on who gets to tell him that news.
I mean, I sound reassured.
I'll tell you what, the way the system works, guys, there's no time for that. If China or Russia were to launch something, it'd be on our shores in about we're 18 to 20 minutes, and there's no time to get a conference call with the DOJ and State Department. It's just no time. I mean, the president's got to make a decision, and the team should be. This is how it's supposed to work, and this is how it worked when I was there for Clinton. Was the president carries a set of nuclear codes. We call it the biscuit because the president breaks it open and reads a series of numbers and letters. And the military aid has the football. And those two things have to come together very, very quickly. And a decision has to be made very, very quickly and then transmitted back to the Pentagon, to the National Military Command Center. So all of this has to happen. I mean, a couple of times that we had fake threats, or we thought they were threats incoming when I was in the in the chair with the football. We would rally to and get everything ready in about 5 minutes, and then the president had to make a decision very, very quickly. And so we practiced the crap out of that. And I really feel bad for the military aides that are working. I don't know any of these guys and girls personally at this point. I'm too far removed. But I really feel bad if you're a military aide for Joe Biden. Yeah. And knowing that you've got no cognitive decision-making ability left in that man. So
But Buzz, you get to be on the beach all day.
Yeah. Excuse me. So I just felt those guys and girls must be miserable. And, I felt like I was under a lot of pressure because I had Clinton. And again, I didn't want to be involved in World War III, I always kind of look at his decision making and say, is this guy capable of making the right decision? And he was. I don't think Biden is. I don't think he has the nuclear codes on him. I don't know who has the nuclear codes, and that's to scare every American around the world. It's just scare our allies too. I don't know who has them. It shouldn't be Biden, but I don't think Biden's capable. So I
Wow.
speculate. I speculate. I think it's the chief of staff probably has them, or somebody that's around him more than anybody else. Hopefully, Jill's not carrying him around in her purse.
Well, she was at the head of the table at a cabinet meeting.
That's right.
And
I saw
so,
that. That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, incredible. Okay, so you got everything that's going on outside in the world, but here at home they continue to keep letting in thousands and thousands and thousands of migrants and people traveling. We look at this video here of these ecstatic new Americans, right? Let's watch this.
They let them through. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
They better hurry up and get in here and vote. They're running to the polls.
Those people aren't even from Latin America.
No.
They're not even from the bordering nations.
No.
Yeah, how did they get here? How did those people get here?
NGOs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That are flying. They're bringing them over. I mean, I live in Southern California, so I see the effects of illegal immigration every single day. Our schools, our hospitals, the crime. I see it all the time. And we're not. So we're flying people from Haiti to Springfield, Ohio. We're flying people from Africa up through Europe and then all the way down to the border. And those are the guys you just saw coming in. And you notice that was somebody let them through the fence. That's the wall right there. And they were on the American side of the wall down in San Diego. So somebody let them through. And that's the kind of, involvement that we get from far left NGOs who, do not respect democracy. They don't respect the republic. They don't respect capitalism. And I guarantee you that George Soros is behind a lot of who's funding these illegals to come in.
Yeah, there's been, his fingerprints on this nation have soiled so much from the DA offices to all of these folks that are in power. And so when you kind of look at the folks that are sitting in power, you kind of wonder, you go, how many, we have this great clip here of Thomas Massey. And I don't know what your opinion on him is, but he seems to be one of the very, very few voices that can sit in Congress and really call it out for what it is. So we're going to show this clip because we just learned that the SAVE Act, if you've been following this, the SAVE Act, which would have stopped illegals from voting in our presidential elections, has been taken out of this continuing resolution in order to continue the funding of our government and not shut it down. And this was something that Thomas Massey predicted. I want to get your take on this, but let's watch this clip here. This was Massey a while ago.
But wait, there's a bright, shiny object on this CR. I've never seen one of these. I have never seen a bright, shiny object attached to one of these must-pass bills. Oh, wait, no. It actually happens. There always is a bright, shiny object, a bauble, if you will. A little something to get excited about. This SAVE Act, it's going to save us all, right? And by the way, this is good political theater. I do like this part of it, that we're going to see almost every Democrat cast a vote so that illegals can vote in our elections. I mean, that's pretty clever on the part of our speaker to set that up, make you all take that vote. But here's what he's going to do after you take that vote. He's going to take it off. The bright, shiny object goes away. It's Lucy and the football again. And the American public is all revved up. Yeah, we're going to get to save that. We're going to save these elections. We're going to stop the illegals from voting. Really? How are you going to do that in like 6 weeks? I think they're already registered if they're going to vote. Some of them probably already voted. This SAVE Act ain't going to save anything. And particularly because it ain't ever going to become law. It's a false promise to get all the Republicans half pregnant. And then you're going to get fully pregnant by the end of September when you vote for this CR. That is not going to have this, I hate to break this to you. The Democrats already know this. I'm not telling you anything special. I hate to break it to the Republicans. You ain't getting the SAVE Act. It is not going to stay on this bill. Why? Because we're going to cave. We're going to cave.
Yeah, incredible. And cave they
Yeah.
did. Buzz, now I know you weren't you were a military and you were around the commander in chief when you were with President Clinton, but having to have to be around him constantly, I'm sure you were around political meetings and agreements, were you not? And when and then I want to ask you, how does this is this the same old business? Is this just what you witnessed back in the 90s as well?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the second part of your question, Matt, first. Is that I think, yeah, I mean, I walked out of the White House in 1998, just discussed it with both sides. There are very few legitimate politicians inside the Beltway, in my estimation. And I think we're just playing games with the American people. Massey is right. Number one, I live in California. We got our voting starting up already, and I guarantee you we've got illegals that are voting here. I guarantee you we are. But even if we were to pass the SAVE Act, which will never pass, we don't have time. How are you going to implement it before in 30 some odd days? There's just no time, and it's something that we need to. I really again pray that Trump is our next president, because I think he will shut this stuff down immediately, and day one. And I think we don't need a SAVE Act. We need what we had in place when Trump was there before, which was the border basically closed, and we were working on more security. And when Biden got there, he just dumped all that. And so we need somebody. We need a change agent. I guarantee you guys, if Kamala Harris is elected, nothing's going to change on the border. Nothing's going to change with crime, inner city. Every city now is a border city. And I don't care if you're in, South Dakota or Illinois, you're seeing the same things I'm seeing, maybe not on the same level, but certainly you're seeing the impact, especially if you live in Springfield, Ohio, for example. So I just think that our politicians aren't serious about doing it, about stopping it. We're going to need somebody that just comes in there with a strong hand and reinstitutes everything. Remain in Mexico, build a wall, get all that stuff going again, No amnesty for anybody until we sort this stuff out, and that's where we are. And it's really disappointing to me living in California, because we've got Gavin Newsom, who's welcoming them with open arms. He's making it so easy for them to buy houses, eat. They're buying out hotel spaces. The government's paying. California is paying these hotels exorbitant prices to put these people in there, and regular people who are in business or on vacation can't afford to stay there. So there's no rooms available. It's also happening in New York, Pando or Fist up there. Mm-hmm. So I don't see a quick solution other than Trump. I hate to say it, I think the Border Patrol would party like rock stars if Trump got in there again and gave them power back. I think that we need military troops on the border. I've always supported that, whether they're active duty or retired. I'll do it. There seems to be something done down there, and we're not even paying attention. And you're exactly right. It's the great replacement theory. And I bet you the cheating is going to be off the charts in November. That's my prediction.
Yeah, it's very terrifying. Josh, we have that tweet from Elon Musk warning that unless Trump is elected, there it is, America will fall to tyranny. Trump must win. You're the big doomer, Josh. How close are we to this, you think?
Yeah, I guess my question for Mr. Patterson would be, we think about like, okay, we will fall to tyranny, but there's another element of incompetence that puts us in more danger. So yeah, we're going to have, if Kamala wins, we'll have censorship. They'll crack down. They'll probably try to take our weapons. But then we have never looked more weak to our enemies, which is a different kind of existential threat that you are uniquely familiar with. But and that's why we're going to talk to you so much more about this. Is I think these ideas of thermonuclear war, or even an Assassin's Mace attack where they hit only military bases, this seems impossible to average American person. Yeah. And I think you have such I would love to hear you counter that. If they're saying, we're probably fine, that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would agree with you. The fact that Elon's tweet or post was perfect in that it's not just us. It's the rest of the world. And I've had foreign friends from all parts of the world basically say, "What are you guys doing?" And you're the last bastion in the United States. If you guys turn to socialism and have someone like Kamala Harris, we don't have anybody to reach out to anymore. So I've had a German citizen tell me that. I've had a Taiwanese citizen tell me that. And it's just, so it's important that we save our own republic, but who we have in the office is equally is important to people in Germany or Taiwan. And I think that they see that. So not only are our enemies not impressed, our friends aren't impressed. And that's a horrible place to be. And especially with people with big toys like nuclear weapons and nobody there to really talk them down. I mean, again, I don't think Ukraine would be happening under Trump. I just don't think it would have gotten that point. I don't think what's happening in Israel would have got to that point either under Trump.
I want to ask this question because, as you said, you alluded to that even though you're retired, you'd jump in there to defend or help out where needed in a military capacity. People joke about it. Some people are more serious than others about it. There's been Hollywood movies about it. But the idea of an actual kinetic civil war in this country,
right.
And you see the lines getting clearer and clearer. And this, we've had 24 years now of calling each other red states and blue states, which we never really used to do that before.
Right.
And now, I mean, it's kind of solidified, and there's swing states when it comes to the presidential elections. But what do you think do you think a kinetic civil war is in our future?
I think we're already kind of in one. You know what I mean? I think we're already there, and I think that if an assassination attempt on President Trump succeeds, I think we're going to be in a hot civil war. I don't think a lot of Trump supporters is going to put up with that, and especially if we can prove that it came from a foreign country or it came from the Democratic Party. So, I think we're closer than we've ever been, guys. And I think I've been saying this for 4 or 5 years. I do believe we're already in a cold civil war, and it's going to take a match to the gas can, which would be an assassination attempt, or just unbelievable cheating, or which we'll probably never know the truth about anyway. But I think that I think we're right on the edge. And again, I'm 68 years old. This is the closest I've ever seen us to a nuclear war and to a civil war. And this election, I can't underscore it enough. It's pivotal. Most elections are, but I think if we lose this one, our children are not going to be in a great place, in a great country, unfortunately.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that the reason why it hasn't burst out in major fighting between everybody is because we're not hurting yet. We're not hurting as badly as we can be. But those of us that are like the three of us that are sitting here right now talking about it, who understand it, the only thing that I can think of is that, well, maybe Harris is sworn in on January 20, 2025, and then it gets really bad. And then people start doing something, because I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're not awake now, and if you're still like an undecided voter after going through COVID, which we didn't even discuss here, how I'm a loss for words.
I think I don't know exactly. There's going to be a catalyst. There's going to be a catalyst. I don't know I don't know if it's going to be another assassination attempt, or if it's going to be Kamala Harris's inaugural day. I think we're going to see, and I just like that comment below us. I think we're going to see political unrest no matter who gets elected. I agree with that, and I think it's going to be much more pronounced if it's Kamala than it will be if it's Trump. But I see the left being outraged too. So
sure,
we're in a tough place in this world. This is, like I said, this country is precarious. Is more precarious than I've ever seen it, and we're not trending in the right direction. No,
and Miss AOC herself has kind of hinted at where we will be in a future that she would love to could be in control. Let's watch this clip. We shared this on X.
I do think that several members of Congress in some of my discussions have brought up media literacy, because that is a part of what happened here. And we're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation. It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false. And so that's something that we're looking into.
I mean, she wants to rein in misinformation, media literacy.
Yeah, and Gavin Newsom is doing the same thing out here. He said he just signed a bill that says if there is a meme that falsely promotes something in this political process, that's against the law in California now. So I'm going to be sending out a lot more memes that talk about politics in California, just to get it under his skin.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
She's AOC is not the brightest bulb, and I think that what she doesn't understand that it's not up to her what's information or disinformation or misinformation. It's not up to her. It's up to us and the First Amendment. And I'm on X as you guys are, and I see the Harris headquarters page. That is 99% BS. 99% what they post, because they're just lying about stuff. And so if we don't need to get to the censorship thing, because we can't decide who is going to decide what's misinformation and what's not misinformation. And I don't want AOC to be the arbiter of that. She's the last person I want to be having arbitrate that. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'd also like to point out to her that she better be careful who she's actually what she's actually advocating for, because I have a list here, and we should share this on WorldNet Daily. I have a list of all of they call them psyops that the mainstream media pushed that was turned out to be false and misinformation, like Trump calling neo-Nazis fine people, the Russia collusion, Jussie Smollett, Bubba Wallace, the Covington kid, the Chinese weather balloon. I mean, on and on and on. The P-tape, the Steele dossier, Trump overfed koi fish in Japan. These were all fake stories. All fake stories pushed. They were all misinformation and disinformation. So I don't know if you can produce a list like this that has done more damage. That she could produce a list like this that has done more damage to our country.
Well, and the latest one is this thing about Haitians in Springfield and how Trump's rhetoric is driving assassination attempts, and it's driving Haitians in Springfield to eat animals or whatever. That's a hoax. Project 25 is a hoax. Project 25 exists. Trump didn't write it. I didn't help Trump write. Nobody around Trump's inner circle wrote it. So so they're gonna pound Project 25. They're gonna pound abortion, and then they're gonna pound this racism narrative. It's going around because they don't like Elon Musk, and they don't have any facts behind them. So it's gonna be interesting. Thank God for Elon Musk, though. Thank God for X.
Right. Buzz, okay, I wanted to take this time to just kind of drill down a little bit on your experience. So you carried the football, as it were. I think that's an image of you carrying. It looks like there are two. And can you tell us, as much as you can tell us, about what the operation was and what it entailed?
Yeah, guys, I got to apologize for the background noise. My yard guys showed up, and so hopefully you can edit some of this stuff out.
Yeah,
so the one in his left hand is the actual football. That, and it has, if you can see, there's a radio antenna coming out of it.
Yeah,
looks like he's got two actually. Those are radio pouches on the outside of the football. The football is actually a metallic case that Halliburton built a long time ago, and we still use it. And it carries a bunch of stuff, not just nuclear stuff, but it carries stuff like the 25th Amendment, how you swear people in, stuff, how to actuate the personal broadcast system. For example, if we were to have a nuke, the directions are in there how to do that. So it's heavy. It weighs about 45 pounds, And what he's got in the other hand, his right hand, is actually contingency plans for evacuation scenarios. So everywhere the president goes, we have at least 6 helicopter evacuation scenarios on hand to get the president away from harm's way to Air Force One or Marine One, and then out of Dodge. So those are the plans that are provided by the President's Emergency Operations Center. And so it's doesn't look like it's changed much. This is actually the Coast Guard guy, I believe. So yeah, it's very heavy, and everywhere the president goes, there's one of those guys or girls with them. And like I said, when he's in the White House, you're sleeping in the White House, or or in my office in the White House. And when you're on the road, you're right next door to him in the hotels or castles or palaces. We've stayed a little bit of everything under Clinton, so I was always in very close proximity because, again, the time continuity, the time spectrum that you have, if when the National Military Command Center calls and says, you know what, we believe Russia just launched, can you get with the boss and come up with a retaliatory strike? And that's what all that stuff is supposed to do.
And then you mentioned previously that there was a scenario where that Clinton lost something.
Yeah. So this is actually my first book, Dereliction of Duty. So, like I said, there's always a military aide with the nuclear football, and there's always the president with a set of codes. Those codes are the nuclear codes, and like I said, we call them the biscuit. They've existed ever since Eisenhower, and the president has always carried them on. Clinton put him in his pants pockets. Clinton didn't use a wallet. He rubber banded cash and credit cards in the nuclear codes and stuck them in his pants pocket. One morning I was the first briefer on his schedule at 7 a.m. in the morning. And I went in, and this was right during the Monica Lewinsky stuff. And it had just come out in the press. And, the White House became a very dark place to work in those days. But I walked in to see if he needed to, for me to answer him any questions. And he said, I could tell he'd been up all night because the Monica thing had broken. And he looked like he had, he was tired. His eyes were bloodshot. I said, okay, sir, I'll come back later if that's more convenient for you. But can I just confirm that you have the nuclear codes with you? Or do you have any questions? And he said, no, I don't have the codes with me. They must be upstairs in the residence. Can you come back? Wow. Yeah. Can you come back in a little while? So I called upstairs to the residence, talked to valets, which are also military guys. And they said, no, we don't have them. So we turned the White House upside down. It had never happened before, guys. I mean, one time Reagan sent his suit to the cleaners with him in his pants, in his coat pocket, but the Secret Service realized it immediately and got him. And so when I pressed Clinton, I said, how long has it been, sir? Just trying to, like when you lose something, you want to try to recreate history. How long has it been? When's the last time you saw him? Because I had to call the Pentagon and tell them this had happened, and they were incredulous. So I had to have all the information I could possibly get. So he said, I don't know how long it's been. I said, has it been days? He goes, yeah. I said, has it been weeks? He goes, possibly. I said, has it been months? He goes, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw him. So here we have, wow. Yeah, and we never did find him, guys. We never did find him. And so here we have the president of the United States, commander-in-chief, the most important person in the world, who for possibly up to 3 months did not have the ability to be the commander-in-chief and respond with nuclear weapons. And that was one of my first real insights into, this guy is incompetent. He's a derelict in his duties. And that's why when I got out of the Air Force and was legally able to write Dereliction of Duty, I wrote it because I wanted the world to know, and for Americans to know, to expect a commander-in-chief with a little more, this guy was a failure. And I didn't anticipate Joe Biden at the time. Now I really see a failure in terms of the military. But at the time, Clinton was worst case scenario in my mind, and I was still active. But now I see that the damage has been, George W. Bush, whatever you thought about him, he was a decent president, but not a great military president. Barack Obama did everything he possibly can to neuter the U.S. military. Joe Biden has done that, and under Kamala Harris, this military the world's greatest military in the history of the world will cease to exist, and we're not going to win wars. We're just not with this DEI stuff. It is not going well. I have friends that are getting out. I have really qualified pilot buddies and SEAL buddies that are getting out because they don't want to be a part of this administration anymore. And if my son, who's 18, is thinking about coming in and being a pilot, and I'm not sure that I want him working for her. In fact, I don't want him working for her. So that's where we are, and that's, again, Trump is very popular in the military circles. Almost all of my friends are Trump supporters. I do have some Democratic friends that are become Trump supporters. So that's important, characteristic.
Buzz, are you saying that Joe Biden might have the nuclear codes in his pocket?
Well, he's supposed to. He's supposed to.
I don't even think he has his boxer shorts on. He's supposed to have them. Every president since Eisenhower has had them. And I don't think Biden does. I don't believe we have a commander in chief right now. I think he just handed the keys over to the Pentagon and said, don't screw things up too badly because I want to get out of here. And I think that's where we're at.
Buzz, another question for you is,
sure.
You were in the Clinton White House in the post-Cold War era. It had just ended. Do you believe we are closer to World War III now? If so, how and why?
I think we're closer than we've ever been in my lifetime. And I think it's because I believe in peace through strength. I think that however America goes, the rest of the world kind of goes. I'm not saying that boastfully. I just believe that most people look at the United States and think that's a pretty awesome country, the pretty awesome military, and but they need a leader. And I think what Biden has done is damaged U.S. relations around the world, and has precipitated where we are right now. Again, in order of World War, I think just what actually constitutes a world war. If Iran moves on Israel, then the other countries have to get involved. That's I think probably the most likely right now. If Russia moves on Ukraine with nuclear weapons, then NATO has to get involved, and I'm sure the United States would want to get involved too. So we got that going on. Again, we have China just watching all this and laughing at us, guys. They're playing games with Taiwan, and they're just waiting for the right opportunity. They're hooked up with North Korea. North Korea has nukes. They're working closely with Pakistan, who has nukes. The Chinese are right there. So we're looking over here. We're kind of getting rope-a-doped a little bit. We're looking over here at Israel and in Gaza and Iran when something quite easily could happen in China. So I think that if NATO gets involved, then you got all the NATO countries that have to be involved. That's going to be World War. And I hate to say it, but I think we're right there on the cusp.
And then my final question for you, Buzz, is I think this is, most people don't know this. You did mention it briefly in the show, but what is the response time between launch from our enemies of their weapons to actual impacts here?
Well, obviously it depends on where they're coming from. I mean, if they're coming from Russia, they're coming up over the ice, the North Pole. That time is probably around 15 to 18 minutes, depending on what part of the country those were fired from. We probably have more like 20, 22 minutes if we get launched at by China. And so you can see that there's no time to be calling meetings and to use a team. The team is the president and the military aide and the officials at the Pentagon that are going to be passing on whatever the orders are in terms of us retaliating. So you've only got a handful of minutes, and we practice that at least once a quarter with the president, and we practice with the commanders, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, all the way down to the commanders that were in charge of the submarines, twisting key, nuclear subs, twisting keys and firing missiles. Our silos, of course, in the northern part of the United States are that close to turning keys, and of course, then we have the bombers that can go up over the North Pole as well. So there's not a lot of time, and I don't believe we're going to. During the Cold War, we were in a great posture. I think the U.S. military could respond to one of those launches in a heartbeat. I don't think we're in that posture anymore. I think we spent too much time now focused on DEI and trans rights and trans surgeries and all those kind of things, when we should be thinking about breaking things and killing people and being the predominant military in the face of the earth. And that's what we were under Ronald Reagan when I first came in. And I could see it deteriorating under Clinton, and it's just gone further south.
Well, Buzz,
not happy
that
note.
glowing review of the of our modern times. No, seriously though, we truly appreciate you joining us here today. We've got really great insights here, and I'm sure the audience has taken a lot from this. And folks, please, share these episodes, share these clips when they get out there, because the more we inform your neighbors, the more you can rely on expertise from folks like Lieutenant Colonel Buzz Patterson here, the better we can all be. So I thank you for your service, sir, and I thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Anytime, guys, and thank you for the work that you guys are doing as well.
Absolutely. And before we
thank you, sir.
Before we let you go, though, tell everybody where they can follow you and get a hold of some of your writings and works.
Yeah, well, I'm all over social media, all the usual suspects. But my most prolific and the most fun I have is on X. We're just at Buzz Patterson, 2 Z's and 2 T's. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And I'm out there speaking and writing still as much as I possibly can. Try to do my best to support President Trump and the Republican Party across the country, because I see I've got young adult children, and I see where this country's headed, and I don't like it.
Yeah, great. All right, well, folks, you heard it there. Go follow him at all those places. And Josh, give us the rundown how everybody can follow us at WorldNet Daily.
Yeah, folks, please go to all of our channels. We're going to throw the first one up is Rumble. We'd love you to go over there, like and subscribe. That's where you can see this video and our clips. Also, Telegram, that has a lot of unfiltered content there. You want to see uncensored content? That's a great place to go. And of course, our Instagram is covering all kinds of stories, including a lot of the pop culture stuff that's going on, which we see now that pop culture is just like right below the surface. It's always political, and we love you to go over there and follow us. There's a lot of great content over there, and of course on X, that's thanks to Elon, the unfiltered place where you get to see everything we're doing at WorldNet Daily, and great articles over at worldnetdaily.com. That's the flagship where everything's going down, and we really appreciate Buzz coming on. We can't wait to have you back. That's all I got.
Anytime, guys. Thanks so much. God bless. And you guys keep grinding too. Keep punching.
Excellent. Appreciate it. All right, folks.
Thank you,
see you
sir.
back here on Wednesday. Take care, everybody. God bless.